It emerged one of the attackers, Khurram Butt, had been reported to the anti-terror hotline in 2015 when Mrs May was Home Secretary. Joining us now is Haras Rafiq, who is the Chief Executive of the counter-extremism think tank, the Quilliam Foundation. Hello to you. Thanks for joining us on Sky News this afternoon, Mr Rafiq. Is it all about the money, do you think?
No, it's more than that. I think that on this particular instance, you mentioned that somebody had rang in and reported Khalid Butt. Well, we have a personal story in this as well, and I'll just break it with you now, Kay. Last year, in 2016, Khalid Butt physically and verbally assaulted a member of my staff and his family, and he was reported both to the police and to counter-terrorism as, first of all, somebody who'd carried out this physical attack, and we're going to press release this with photos later on, and also as an extremist. And the counter-terrorism division had heard of him, they knew all about him, but he got away. They took him 6 months to find him and then actually gave him a caution. There have been a lot of missed opportunities, and of course we know about the film that this guy was in as well as his connections. There have been a lot of opportunities to actually prevent and stop this terrorist attack from happening, and there are some serious questions to be answered here by the police and by security services. It's not all about the money. They are under pressure, they are under-resourced, and the terrorists have adapted the way that they operate. Theresa May today called for a review. Well, a review will take time. We need to adapt quickly, and we need more resources put into our counter-terrorism division and police, and they need to work in a different way to the way that they're working now, and take reports from experts. I mean, if we report somebody as an extremist, somebody who's been physical, a violent extremist, and they're not able to do something about it, what can they do? What will they do, and how are they behaving if the general public is actually calling in?
So what exactly are you saying? That they are not necessarily under-resourced, but they're given information that they don't act on? Why? For what reason?
Okay, I think, and this is my assessment, that the problem here is that, first of all, to monitor somebody, it takes 20 to 25 people to monitor somebody 24 hours a day, every day, 365 days a year. So there's a lot of resource. But what happens is when somebody reports somebody, calls a terrorist hotline, when somebody actually reports somebody as being potentially a terrorist and a violent extremist, they have to go through a process where they do a risk assessment. And the problem here is that the volume of people that they're monitoring, the volume of people that they're actually looking at, they've got to prioritize what they believe to be immediate high risks and put the others to one side.
Okay.
What probably happened is that Khalid Butt was reviewed, his case was reviewed, and they were dealing with other high priority cases. Let's not forget that since the Westminster bombing, our agencies have stopped five attacks, five high-profile, five potentially dangerous attacks, and the problem is that their processes need to change. They need to use different types of review in terms of what's high risk right now and what's potentially high risk later. Because this guy, after he was reported last year by us, he went out and carried out this attack.
I absolutely get what you're saying, Mr. Rafiq, but what I don't understand is if it's not about the money and it is about having been told that this man was high risk, you're suggesting that the authorities need to change their grid. They need to change what they see as being high risk, even though organisations like you will contact them and say you need to keep an eye on this guy. They obviously felt for whatever reason that wasn't the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they need to change the grid. I think they need to change the way that they work. I think there is more. You're right. There is an aspect of money that there needs to be more investment within our agencies. We've taken a lot of police officers off the streets. We've downsized and some of our agencies as well. So yes, there is an element of money, but I think what they have to do is actually also look at expertise that's coming in and actually take it seriously and consider it and actually say that this person could be, and in this case, was, and in other cases as well, a high risk, and actually do something about it there and then, rather than just giving him a caution, because a caution will not stop these people. The other thing I think that we need to do is we need to use, and we used to have control orders, and the control orders were deemed as being illegal. So we had something called TPIMs, which actually meant that these people were actually segregated from other people. These people were moved. Okay, these people, if they hadn't broken the law, they were restricted access to the internet. They were virtually not allowed to be outside of their homes for a number of hours. So it's not quite house arrest, but actually these people were being controlled, if you like. That's not being used as well and as often as it should be used. That's something that's available to them, and I don't know why that's not being used. I suspect that Theresa May was the Home Secretary at the time, and it was her decision not to use them as much. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the government, the Home Secretary can have any strategy in place. It's up to the people who are implementing that strategy to implement it in the right way.
Okay.
And I think TPIMs needs to be used more. I think more money, yes, does need to be put into, more resources needs to be put into our agencies, but they need to change the way that they work, because the terrorists are actually working differently. Khalid Butt, it could well be that this time last year, he was not planning an attack, but he was somebody who physically was violent, he was an extremist, he was known, and he mixed with other people. And I suspect potentially this latest terrorist that's been, the latest attacker that's been known, may well have been the person who helped tip him over the edge.
Okay, always good to talk to you, Haras Rafiq. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thanks a lot. Still to come on the programme.